Hi 3D design students, let's begin making our wire sculptures today. So one thing you're going to need to do is actually remove, there's like plastic wrap on this wire, so make sure that that gets removed. It's actually a lot harder to remove than I initially thought. Might want to get like a pair of scissors or something and like break through that plastic so that you free up the wire here. So you should have 6 different spools of wire. I don't recall if I gave everybody the same color, but the color's not really that important. All that's really important is that you have 6 different spools that you can use for creating. Note about the wire before we get started is number 1, it's extremely flexible. So you can bend it in any direction. The wire is easy to cut, so any just pair of regular scissors will easily cut through your wire. They don't have to be like heavy-duty kitchen scissors or anything. Any scissors will do. If you have a pair of needle nose pliers at home, or any sort of pliers really, this would be a helpful tool for just helping to pull your wire or twist it with smaller shapes. It's not necessary, but if you do have some at home, your mom or dad might have some out in their garage, ask them. It would be a good tool to have. Again, not necessary. You can use other tools to help you wrap, such as like a pencil. If you're trying to wrap things, would be totally fine. You could also probably use your scissors too, as long as you don't cut all the way through. If you're trying to grab and then wrap, your scissors would also work as long as you're not cutting through the wire. I have my tools and I have my wire. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at my sketch again and reference that so I know what I'm doing, looking at my reference images as well. I want to make my pot red, and I do have some red wire, so that's where I'm going to start. I said before, these are not going to be super big because you don't really have enough wire to make something massive. So let's keep it small, something that'll kind of fit in like the palm of your hand, I think is what I would be thinking of as far as size goes. So like I said, I'm going to start with my pot, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create like the front of my pot in 1 dimension. Okay, that's where I'm going to start this. My first simple shape out of the wire, and this is like the start of my pot here at the bottom. This is just like, imagine that if I had the pot, well, imagine if I had the pot drawn. Give us a drawing of a pot here. I'd basically be like sketching or using the wire to create those simple lines. One thing you're going to notice with the wire is because this wire is thin, it's extremely bendable, which is good for some things, but it's not great for holding its form as you work. So, don't get discouraged with that. You can always come back and fix things. Also, notice how I made this out of just 1 piece of wire. I cut it and then I made 1 joint here. The less cutting and joining, the more secure your piece will be. Right, so I'm going to continue to make my pot. Now I'm going to start to add some dimension on it. So I have like 1 side of my pot. Now I'm going to go ahead and create like the inside and the other form so that it looks 3-dimensional. At this point, I have like a nice structure built for how I'm going to add more like volume to my flower pot, and I'm going to do that by continuing to wrap in this area and all the way around to create a pot structure. a lot more to the structural form of my little flower pot here. One thing to think about and remember is I'm not interested in it being able to stand up by itself. Like this obviously just flops over at this moment. Don't spend too much time trying to get it to stand on its own. That is not important at this point. So what I'm going to do now that I have like all of my kind of vertical structures aligned, I'm going to go ahead and start creating some horizontal structures around the verticals. Guys, so as you can see, I've created a three-dimensional structure here. This is going to act as the pot for my plant. I'm not going to say it's completely finished yet. I will probably take another color of wire and reinforce some of these gaps. But I just wanted to take you through that initial process. Something to keep in mind as you work. Number one is you have to make sure you recognize the limitations of the materials here. This wire is flexible. It's 24 gauge wire, so it's thin. This wire is not particularly meant for sculpture. It's more meant for use in jewelry. But because we're at home, I can't give you 8 or 10 gauge wire that's going to require heavy duty cutting tools. So just keep in mind as you work with it to recognize the limitations that it holds, which is you're going to have to constantly be kind of coming back and remanipulating and adjusting as things kind of bend and twist. That's okay. Don't let that frustrate you. Just recognize that that's just part of the process here. You may find that you run out of a certain color as you work. I have a little bit of red left, but be flexible with your color schemes. It's really not that important. What's important is that you're creating forms that are three-dimensional. And for this initial first class period, I just kind of wanted you to get some sort of basic, simple structure created within the class period time frame. Not expecting this to be finished by any means today. We're looking at finishing this up by Friday's class period, possibly Monday if you're still virtual by that point. Okay, so that is the process that we're going to begin creating our wire sculpture at home.